if I don't read these books by the end of September, they're just not getting done this year. So if you guys have been watching me for a while, you probably know that I just don't typically do TBRs. If you've been watching me for a long time, you'll know that I used to do monthly TBRs, and they're just really hard to stick to, and I don't really love to have like a set specific list of books that I need to get to every month. However, I do love to do a seasonal TBR. I think those are a lot of fun, and it's kind of nice to have a little bit of like a guideline to which books I want to read during a specific season. So I have put together a list of 10 books, all kind of ranging across different genres. And I'm calling this my summer bucket list TBR because these are the books that I've had on my shelves for a while, or even like some books that I just recently bought that I absolutely need to read by the end of summer. And if I don't get to them by the end of summer, they are probably not going to get read this year. These are just books that I just feel like scream summer to me, and I cannot imagine myself reading them in any other season. So they have to get done. If they're not done this season, definitely hold me accountable, but just know they are going to be pushed until 2026. So let's get into this stack. I'm so excited. We're going to start off with a romance book, and that is One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. I have recently found out that I love Carly Fortune's books. I did read her first book, Every Summer After. I read that about maybe 2-3 years-ish ago, and I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. And I believe that in my Goodreads review, all I said was, it's really a toss-up. Like it truly is. Like, I don't know how I feel about that first book. However, I did recently read another book from this author, and that one was This Summer Will Be Different, which I will absolutely talk about in my May wrap-up. However, I loved that book so much, and I have been convinced to read more of Carly Fortune's books, and this one just came out, so I'm so excited that I actually have a copy of it, and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it, and hopefully I love it. I've heard so many good things about this book, and I need that summer vibe. I need that summer romance. And actually, I believe this might be the only true romance book in this list, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, there are so many other romance books that I want to read during the summer. I could make an entire different video just talking about those kind of books. However, this one is like at the very top of that list. I need to read it. And basically, this is just a very like summery romance book. It follows the main character, Alice, and she has a lot of fond memories in this like very like beachside location where her grandmother lives. And now she's grown up, and her grandmother ends up, I believe, suffering a fall and breaking her hip, and so she needs help. And Alice decides to go and visit her grandma and be a little bit of a caretaker for her. So she is back in that like summery beachside town, and a lot of memories come back and romance ensues, and I cannot wait to read this book. I know I'm gonna love it. I just have this feeling, and I'm so glad that I have it physically so I could just read it. I've been in such a huge physical reading mood. I know that for the past like few years I've been in like such a like an audiobook kick. However, physical reading has gotten me in a chokehold again. I love it. So excited to read this book. The next one is another one that I did kind of recently buy, I think a few months ago. However, this has been on my list for so long, and that is Outline by Rachel Cusk. I have heard so many good things about this book in particular, but also like this entire series, so I cannot wait to read this book. And I actually did pick this up at my favorite local indie bookstore, and the bookseller there was like, this book is very popular, I really enjoyed this book, the author is really cool, and I'm like, okay, I know I'm gonna love this book. I don't need to be convinced any further. I know I'm gonna love this book. So I'm so excited to pick it up. And to be completely honest, I actually don't know a lot about this book, but just from the quotes on the back alone, it sounds so good. Like the New York Times said, sometimes a book arrives in your life exactly when you need it. Such was the case for me with Outline. Slate said, engrossing. Outline feels like a significant achievement. NPR said completely captivating, a pleasure to read. The Guardian said a stellar accomplishment. The New Yorker said this novel is mesmerizing. Vogue said quietly radical, ingenious. And so that is all I need to know. I actually don't even really care what this book is about, and that's something that you need to know about me, is that I love to go into books not knowing exactly what they were about. I love to go based on vibes, and that's just the type of reader I am. I've always been that way, even before I was making content. Like when I was little and I'd go to the library, I didn't really care what was on the inside cover or like on the back. I could not care less. I would go based on vibes almost every time. And usually it works out for me, so I'm really excited to read this one, and I think it's gonna be perfect for summer. It does have a seashell on the cover, so I feel like it makes sense. The next book I absolutely need to read this summer is Ghosts by Dolly Alderton, and I've actually read her nonfiction book Everything I Know About Love, and I believe I gave that about a 3-star. I really enjoy the way that she tells a story. I just didn't feel like I got a lot from that book, and so it was just okay to me. However, I am really excited to read some of her fiction. So I have Ghosts, and I've had this on my shelf literally ever since it came out, which I think was a few years ago. So this is one that I absolutely need to read as soon as possible. The synopsis on the inside is really short, so I'll just read it. It says, Nina Dean is not especially bothered that she's single. She owns her apartment, she's about to publish her second book, and she has a great relationship with her ex-boyfriend, and enough friends to keep her social calendar full and her hangovers plentiful. And when she downloads a dating app, she does the seemingly impossible. She meets a great guy on her first date. Max is handsome and built like a lumberjack. He has floppy blonde hair and a stable job. But when Max ghosts her, Nina is forced to deal with everything she's been trying so hard to ignore. Her father's Alzheimer's is getting worse, and so is her mother's denial. Her editor hates her new book idea, and her best friend from childhood is icing her out. Funny, tender, and relatable, Ghosts is the whip-smart tale of relationships in modern life. I think that this is going to be so intriguing, and it sounds so good. And I'm hoping that this book is just as funny and fun as Everything I Know About Love was. And having read that book, like I said, I know that she can tell a really great story. So I'm super excited to read this book. The next book is one that I have talked about before, needing to finish, needing to actually like dive into, and that is Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson. I have mentioned this book so many times that I need to finish this book. I actually did start it a few years ago, and I think I got like maybe 50 pages in, but it's been a while and I don't really remember everything that happened in those 50 pages. So I think I just need to start it over and give it like a fresh, real chance. And I think I'm gonna love it. I really do, because I remember reading the first 50 pages and being like, this is so beautifully written, it's really intriguing, it's just like sucking me right in. And then I think I just hit a reading slump. I hit like a wall and I was like, I cannot read anything. So unfortunately I did end up like not finishing this book. I didn't technically like DNF it, but I didn't finish it. So, I mean, what's the difference? But yeah, I feel like this is the year. This is the year I'm gonna read this book and I'm gonna love it, and it's gonna be in like my favorite books of the year video at the end of the year. So I have high hopes. I think I'm gonna love this book. And from what I understand about this book, it's basically a love story. It's not quite a romance from what I'm understanding, which I actually really love these kind of books. Like one of my favorite books of all time is In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle, and this is also kind of like a love story, not quite a romance. And I love those kind of books where it's like, it's a book about love, it's a book about falling in love, it's a book about a couple, or you know, kind of like a romance, but it doesn't quite end like a romance. It doesn't have like the same story beats as a romance, and I love that. So super excited for this book. I've heard so many good things. So many people that I trust love this book, so I can't wait. Another book that people are just like absolutely telling me that I need to read is Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, and actually this entire author's like backlist has been recommended to me so many times ever since I brought up the fact that I want to read this book. And I'm like, do I even start with this one now? I'm like, do I end up getting one of his older books and starting there? I don't know, but I've heard so many good things about his books, and honestly this is just kind of a stand-in for like his entire backlist for me. But I do really want to read this one, and I'm pretty sure that this is about like a hostage situation. It's like a failed bank robbery, and there's obviously like 8 hostages, and it says Anxious People is an ingeniously constructed story about the enduring power of friendship, forgiveness, and hope, the things that save us even in the most anxious of times. And I feel like this is going to be a very timely book for me, and I'm gonna really love it. So I cannot wait to dive into this. But like I said, there are so many other Frederick Bachman books that I absolutely need to read. I really kind of want to jump into Beartown. Maybe like towards the end of the year, if I end up really liking this book, I might go into his backlist. So super excited. Okay, so now for a little bit of a classic. This is To the Lighthouse by Virginia Woolf. I love Virginia Woolf so much. I was an English major, and so I read a lot of Virginia Woolf, especially like some of her more short form works, but I've never read a full book by Virginia Woolf, so I absolutely need to read this book. I'm so excited. I believe I got this copy from Goodwill, and there are so many like annotations in this copy. It's so funny, but maybe it will add to the experience. I do love to see what other people find important and what other people have to say about, especially like classics. I feel like it's a lot of fun to pick up a used classic and see what other people have said. So I'm super excited to read this one. I feel like it's gonna be perfect for summer. I actually have this book on my Kindle, and I believe I've started the first few pages, but that was back when I could not, like, for the life of me, read a book on my Kindle, and now I'm really good at it. So I feel like it might be the perfect time to start this book, because at least I know that if I don't have this copy with me, at least I have it on my Kindle. So that'll be really nice. But yeah, love Virginia Woolf. So excited to read this one. On the back cover it says, the novel that established Virginia Woolf as a leading writer of the 20th century, To the Lighthouse is made up of 3 powerfully charged visions into the life of one family living in a summer house off the rocky coast of Scotland. As time winds its way through their lives, the Ramsays face alone and simultaneously the greatest of human challenges and its greatest triumph, the human capacity for change. A moving portrait in miniature of family life, it also has profoundly universal implications, giving language to the silent space that separates people and the space that they transgress to reach each other. There are very few exceptional and miraculous novels that have the power to change their readers forever. To the Lighthouse is one of them. So I'm so excited. I need to read more classics. I need to read more older books, and so this is definitely one that is high up on my list. And I also have to say, like, another classic that I need to read is The Great Gatsby, so we're including that in this little like classic bundle. The next book is one that I'm actually currently reading, and it's taking me forever, but I need to focus on it, and that is The White Album by Joan Didion. I feel like if I just get deeper into this book, I will be fine. I'm currently 54 pages in, as you can see, but I need to read this book. I really gave Eve Babbitt's like the summer last year, and so I feel like this year the summer needs to be Joan Didion. I mean, I probably will read another Eve Babbitt's book, because I do have another one that I haven't read, which is Eve's Hollywood, so definitely have that in the rotation. But I need to dive into more Joan Didion. I actually did read one of her other books, which I have on my shelf, and that is The Year of Magical Thinking, and I loved it. It made me sob violently, but I need something that's a little bit more lighthearted, if that could be even said about this book. So super excited about this one. This one really deals with LA in the 70s, and Joan Didion was there for like all of it. So super excited to read this book. I know I'm gonna love it. I really just need to focus on it. The next book is another one that I have said that I will read for years and it just has not happened yet, and that is All About Love by Bell Hooks. I need to read this book. I need to. I feel like it's one that, like, even whether you love it or you hate it, it's one that you absolutely need to read. And so I cannot wait to dive into this book. And I just have a feeling that this summer is going to be like nonfiction summer for me. It's going to be romance summer and nonfiction summer, and I'm down for that. So I need to read this book. On the back it says, the word love is most often defined as a noun, yet we would all love better if we used it as a verb, writes Bell Hooks as she comes out fighting and on fire and all about love. Here at her most provocative and intensely personal, the renowned scholar, cultural critic, and feminist skewers our view of love as romance. In its place, she offers a proactive new ethic for a people and a society bereft with loneliness. And I think that that's going to be perfect for our current time, the way that I've been feeling, the way that socially we've all been feeling. And so super excited to read this one. Hopefully it will have some really intriguing insights, and yeah, cannot wait. All right, second to last book is another one I've been needing to read, and honestly I can't even remember when I bought this book. I just know it was years and years and years ago, and that is On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I have been meaning to read this for so long. It still has the sticker on it from Target, and I don't know what's been keeping me from reading this book. I don't know why. I'm just like, it just hasn't clicked for me yet, but I need to pick it up. And I'm feeling just like in this era of me reading more physical books, I think that I can get it done, and I'm so excited for this one. On the back it says, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous is a letter from a son to a mother who cannot read. Written when the speaker, Little Dog, is in his late 20s, the letter unearths a family history that began before he was born, a history whose epicenter is rooted in Vietnam. At once a witness to the fraught yet undeniable love between a single mother and her son, it is also a brutally honest exploration of race, class, masculinity, and our current American moment. Immersed as we are in addiction, violence, and trauma, but undergirded by compassion and tenderness. The question of how to survive and how to make of it a kind of joy powers the most important debut novel of many years. I'm so excited to read this book. I think I'm gonna love it. I think it's just going to really impact me, and so it's necessary. It's so necessary for me to read this book. So super excited about this one. I've heard so many good things, and yeah, definitely hold me accountable for this one in particular because it needs to happen. The last book is another one that absolutely needs to happen this year. I've been putting it off for way too long. That is Crying in HMart by Michelle Zauner. I need to read this book. I feel like everybody's already read it, and I am like the last person on earth that has not read this book, and I just need to. And this is a memoir from the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast, which I really love a lot of their songs, and it really deals a lot with Michelle Zauner's life after the death of her mother. And I think this is going to be really interesting. I can already tell I'm definitely going to cry reading this, and I love when I read a book and it makes me cry and it makes me have like an emotional reaction. I think that's really great. And so cannot wait to read this book. It needs to happen, and it needs to happen this year. This is one that I know that I will finish by the end of the summer. At this point, it's not if, it's when. It's when it happens, not if it happens. I'm going to read it. I'm gonna read it. All right, so those are all of the books that are on my summer bucket list TBR. I'm so excited. I cannot wait to read these books. I know I'm gonna love them. I have high expectations for every single one of these books, and hopefully we will have an incredible summer, a summer full of great books. And if there are any books that you think I should add to this bucket list, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys are going to be reading during the summer. I need to know. I also need to know if you guys are going to read any of the same books that I'm going to be reading this summer. Like, let me know if any of these are on your TBR as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, Storygraph, TikTok. All the links are down below and more, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!